Lauren, that is Lauren Tomlinson, is a founder at Cafe Communications, joins us with her take on things. Lauren, lovely to have you on the show. Thank you very much for your time. Fairly forthright and forceful there, J.D. Vance. Do you think that the Trump-Vance ticket right now is looking stronger than the Democratic side, given that we just know of Kamala Harris being potentially the Democratic nominee for president?
Too early to tell at this point. You're seeing a lot of polling that they did come out where it is signifying that Harris would have a better chance against Donald Trump than Biden was over the last couple of weeks. But those were hypotheticals. And it's really hard to tell at this point how voters are truly going to react to a Harris campaign. One of the things that we saw with Harris in 2020 when she ran for president was she had an amazing 24 hours when she announced, and then her campaign slowly crumbled from there. So her track record is not great on this. However, it has energized Democrats in a way that I think is changing the calculus for the Trump campaign. The Trump campaign up until this point has been really investing heavily on identifying low propensity voters, people who don't normally engage in the political process, who would be supportive of President Trump if given the chance and given the persuasion. These that they've been going after have been Hispanic and Black men in particular. We're seeing that this might be a different strategy. They may have to take a different tack now because Harris is energizing Black men in particular. So we'll see if that holds. Basically, all that to say, there's a lot of unknowns here since it's only been a few days since we've known this, and there's a lot to be. There's a lot to come, I think, in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see how Harris campaigns, two, how voters react to her, and three, how the Trump campaign reframes their attacks to let the American people know what they're thinking.
Right. Trump, on his part, being Trump, Lauren, has said that Harris is easier to beat at a time when both Harris and Biden have spoken to the campaign staff after mobilizing almost $250 million in contributions coming in from donors.
Yeah, I do not think that Harris will be easier to beat than Biden was after the debate. Trump is going to have a very close race on his hands. I think we're going back to what we saw before the debate as far as swing voters being on the fence here. And really, I think that this race is going to end up being decided by a very small number of people in each of those swing states that we talk about often, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin in particular, but then also with Harris, with Biden off the ticket and Harris now in play, we're probably looking at Arizona and Nevada, New Mexico as well. So again, I think this kind of upends everything. And as you said, she's not even a confirmed candidate at this point, so very early to tell. But you've seen a lot of Republicans come out already and say that they are cautioning the Trump campaign and other Republicans of dismissing Harris and her support too quickly. So they're going to have to really refocus and treat the next 100 days as a full-throated campaign. It's going to be a sprint for Harris, I think, to assemble a full ground game and all of the trappings that come with a presidential campaign in such a short amount of time. But it seems like the Democrats are really unified around her and motivated. And so it seems like she'll be able to get it done.
I want to pick up, Lauren, on a couple of things that you've just said, particularly around having to refocus and reframe the attack, because no doubt that has very much been what we've seen characterizing particularly the Trump campaign, where I believe that he basically threw out his original speech because of what happened under the assassination attempt. But also, as we've heard there with J.D. Vance, is saying that, he was sort of looking forward to debating VP Harris. But, no doubt both are adaptable. No doubt Vance has had his fair share of debates at law school. But, what are the weaknesses that they are likely to capitalize on, and perhaps the strength that they may find a bit of a challenge here?
So they are still going to very closely tie Harris to all of the Biden administration's failures. Afghanistan, she was technically in charge of the southern border, so immigration issues are going to be tied heavily to her. And there's a lot of economic discontent in the United States still. Inflation rates for everyday items is very high, even though the macroeconomics and economists will say that core inflation is down. Everyday Americans are still feeling the strain on their pocketbooks. And so the discontent around the economy is going to be a huge factor. That's why the fundamentals of this race and the policy issues of this race have not changed for the Democrats, which is why I say it's too early to tell how Harris will truly poll against Trump and Vance. And it's an easy transfer, I think, because she's been in the administration. She's been a part of these policies with Joe Biden. But now the competency issue is not there. That was a very easy attack for Joe Biden as far as Trump was concerned, because there were so many concerns about how old he was from across demographics. So that's obviously off the table now. And Trump's no spring chicken. I mean, he was only 3 years younger than Biden. Granted, he appears to be a lot stronger. People say that he is a fighter and able to be president again. But the youth contrast will be pretty interesting and a huge strength for Kamala. Otherwise, I think that, a lot of her previous policy positions, they're going to be framing them as extreme and progressive. And so that's where it comes into play of where the swing voters land on issues such as abortion, Middle East policy, some of those things.
Yes, and I suppose then on foreign policy, I suppose the Trump tough China talk being a bit conflicting has been a bit of a challenge as well. But Lauren, that's all we have time for this morning. Thank you so much for helping us today. Lauren Tomlinson, President at Claffey Communications, joining us.